Good afternoon, good afternoon. Happy Sunday. Maurice Cook here with Serve Your City Ward 6 Mutual Aid, the Fairness Coalition, the Gonzaga Peace Club, and other groups are down here at the tent encampments down in NoMa, Northeast DC on L Street, First and L and First and M, and throughout Union Station. And this is what we do on Sundays. And I'm happy to see all of you this Sunday. We are now going out 4 days a week, covering different places throughout the city, throughout Ward 6 and beyond Ward 6, from Thursday to Sunday. So what started out as 1 day a week, now we're going out 4 days a week, covering different areas. But this is the largest, the largest encampment that we have here in the city. But that may change anytime. And right now, I want y'all to talk to an old friend of ours, the lead of this work from the People for Fairness Coalition. We call him General Black here, General Reginald Black, Reggie. He's the one that leads all of us down here in our encampment work for our unhoused neighbors. And Reggie went to an interesting meeting this week to talk about smart growth, smart development, if there is such a thing. But I'm gonna let him explain it.
Yeah. Hi everybody. So just to give a little context, it's 2020 now. So way back about maybe 4 or so years ago, which would be 2016, the mayor started this whole initiative on updating what is the DC Comprehensive Plan. And so through that, there were basically two coalitions. A coalition that we're all a part of, which is called the DC Grassroots Planning Coalition, and the Housing Priorities Coalition, which is convened by Greater Washington, and the Coalition for Smart Growth. These two entities were in support of a framework that would have been harmful for residents to bring legitimate cases to the Zoning Commission and the Office of Administrative Hearings. And so, fast forward, we had like a 14-year battle, in the city council about this. So recently, the mayor has been, pushing for this comp plan to be passed, and in a way, because of some of the history in DC, residents who are in Ward 3, that's like Chevy Chase, Cleveland Park, Woodley, these areas that are sort of like, north of Connecticut Avenue, north of 18th Street, and west of North Capitol Street into Georgetown and those types of areas. They've been like vilified because of which, is some warrant, some of the redlining and some of the policies coming out of what was once the Housing Finance Agency, HFA, for the federal government. So they've been using that to vilify those residents on why they need to build more affordable housing throughout the city. They're not really focusing in on saying that maybe just Ward 3 needs to change. So this meeting was to talk about those particular priorities and supporting the current draft before the City Council for the DC Comprehensive Plan. It's an over 1,500-page document, and we only got 60 days to review it. ANC's only got about 60 or so days to weigh in on it, but they're pushing this thing. They're trying to get it passed at the end of the year. And that particular meeting shows you the tokenism and the liberal racism we face, even here in one of the most liberal cities in the nation, the District of Columbia. I posed several questions about the unhoused, about what would be adverse effects in wards 5, 6, 7, and 8 if we were to get rid of single-family housing, single-family home zoning, like it is in Ward 3 and other areas. We're talking about how row houses are built, single-family homes, detached homes. We're talking about how you have some of the infill development, and none of those questions got answered. And I know why. One of the main questions that kind of started it all was I was asking, were there residents in Ward 3 that were developers and or property owners with properties in, other spaces? and I'm gonna give a shout out to Mr. Frank there. If you want to talk about, how Housing First helped me, we can sit down and do that. But none of those questions got answered. And, we love Mary J. She wants to make sure we can get around. She wants to make sure that we have, transportation. But at the same time, you should acknowledge a community member. You voted for me to be on the ICH. So why weren't my questions answered? Very valid questions about how are these decisions going to affect more underserved wards. You have people like Jeff Griffiths, who is actively displacing right now Congress Heights residents. He is a Ward 3 resident. So why are we not really actually vilifying the real villains there? Why are we not having a conversation about how he shouldn't be down there saying that those residents have to leave so he can build something else? He should be in there promoting their TOPA rights. He should be the one helping them own and control their own housing. All of those folks there.
Hey, Reggie, what's ICH and TOPA?
So ICH is the Interagency Council on Homelessness. I represent the unhoused on that board, and by law, there has to be some of us who have the lived experience of housing instability or homelessness, as you would say, to make sure that our policy recommendations and guidance is following the lead of those who are actually engaging in the services. And the TOPA is the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. So if you have a established resident organization within your building, you can, if your previous owner decides to sell, you have the first right to refusal, and you also have the right to develop your own housing and own and control that housing through the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. So, you have people in Ward 3 that are actually in the game in other wards, in 8, in 7, in 5, in 6. They have property. They're property owners, right? And they're actually displacing people like me. They're displacing them because they want to come and build something else. They didn't want to answer that question. They didn't want to talk about how many amendments from the DC Comprehensive Plan were submitted by organizations working with or actual impacted community members. They didn't want to answer none of those questions. I made those questions public for a reason.
So
because I know these are the things they're not going to talk about.
So I have a question. So do you believe that panel? Do you believe that the Smarter Growth Coalition is made up of mostly property owners?
It's not made up of mostly property owners. It's made up of a lot of people who are like, think tank types. These are like land use lawyers. These are just, writers about different policies on housing and the like. But they're not people who are living in some of these underserved areas like right here in NoMa and are actually active in an active solution. They're saying that their particular way of producing more housing, or that the city should build more housing, is the way to go. And traditionally we see that is more harmful to other wards who are still underserved. And not only that, but they are also Ward 3 residents, some of them. And they actually are dictating and motivating and influencing things in other wards.
Right. So would you say that they are of the belief that more density leads to more affordability?
Yeah.
The supply and demand.
Yeah.
Rationale.
Yes. Their slogan was "Build, Baby, Build." That's what they said.
Build.
The Housing Priorities Coalition. That's what they said.
And see, I want to show an example of this because it's sitting right here, right in front of us.
Yeah.
Now, you see all of this development. I don't even know how many units this is. I mean, who knows how many units this is? But do you think that these units and the units down the street at Senate Square, do you think all of these units have made it more affordable here? Have created more affordable housing, Reggie? Do you think that?
Have they created more affordable housing? All you got to do is turn to the right and show you it ain't. It's a tent. Man living in a tent. Why he ain't over here? If it produces more affordability, why are 86.4% of the homeless population black? So who's living in there? If 86.4% of the homeless community are black, who's living in there? See what I'm saying? So when you're talking about equity, you really have to have the intentional conversation about why is it that, African Americans, who are 46% of the population overall in DC, are overwhelmingly overrepresented in the homeless community? Why are so many black people homeless in the District of Columbia? Why out of, the 39,000 who severely rent burdened, why isn't an overwhelming number of black people who are, facing these struggles? Why are we pushing build, baby, build, turning our housing authority into a quasi-government developer, right? I'm not afraid to say that.
I'm not afraid to say it either.
Things. I'm not afraid to say these things because they're the truth. And certain powers that be, namely City Council, appointed me to speak truth to power. And I'm telling you where you're wrong at and where you need to be guided in a different direction. Like, you can't just have build, baby, build, and then homeless people. Like, look at all the tax money we spent in this corridor. And then to know that last year, the officer, the chief financial officer, is going to produce a report that's going to tell me in this building that there are 3 units right now available for at least 3 individuals or families living right next to where I'm standing.
That's right. That's right.
And that's supposed to be a healthy market. So you're saying at least 3 homeless people per building, which the 10,000 vacancies were consolidated into 3,000 buildings. You're telling me that 3 people per building out of 3,000 is a healthy market. How's that healthy for the city? If that's healthy for the city, you shouldn't be complaining about people living in a tent. That's a shot to Robin Jasper. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
right.
You shouldn't be complaining about that. You shouldn't be telling me that you want to, put these people in some sort of treatment. How long does that treatment last? When are they going to be eligible for housing by your standards? Never? You can't answer that question, can you? You can't answer that question. You'll say, oh, well, it's up to that person. But that person right now is going through something. And you're making it worse by saying they have to wait for the one thing that they ask you when you come and serve them. One thing, and that is housing. It should be a human right. And those in Ward 3 with property and that want to develop in 7, 6, 8, 5, all them other wards, you want to produce equity, them people you want to place something in their neighborhood, make them the owners and not you.
All right, Mr. Reginald Black, General Black, he's talking about the disassociation between the policymakers and what we see down here on the ground. And there is this convenient belief. I call it convenient because you see all the right people seem to be making the money all the time. But there's this convenient belief that more supply will generate more affordability. Well, Lord knows we have much more supply than we've had in the last 10 to 15 to 20 years, and yet this city becomes less and less affordable. And the space down here on the street gets taken up more and more by people who don't have any other choice, because there is no such thing as affordable housing here in Washington, D.C. Not permanent supportive housing. There is no such thing as permanent supportive housing here in Washington, D.C. And so when you hear that buzz term, affordability or affordable housing, please show us, because it looks like a unicorn or a saber-toothed tiger to me. But we see the only semblance of affordability right here where we're standing under the overpass here in NoMa in Washington, D.C., about 5 blocks away from the Capitol building. Well, listen, we got a lot of fighting to do. We got people to support, people to serve, people to inspire, people to collect, to be part of this movement of really doing what we can to make sure that housing does become a human right, because it is a human right, but we have to manifest that here on the ground in reality. Well, God bless all of you. You have a wonderful Sunday and have a great week, and enjoy your Indigenous Peoples Day holiday tomorrow. God bless you. Take care.